Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for either joining us today or watching this recording back in your own time. This is another episode in our weekly Accelerator Facebook Lives, where we are joined by the lovely Emma Fox, owner and founder of Fresh Financials, to talk about her journey of Accelerator and her experience of marketing ever since. So today we are focusing on sessions 7 to 9 of Accelerator, which are email, follow-up and blogging. And we're going to have a chat to Emma about these and wider marketing activity. So over to you, Karen.
Thanks, Steph. And I love doing these so much because the clients that we've chosen to talk to are people like yourself, Emma, where we've gone through quite a journey actually together, and you've gone through your own journey. So I suppose a good place to start is, where would you describe how your marketing journey started and how it's changed?
So I started working with you guys in 2016. And I think I was on the first ever Accelerator. So if I think back 5 years, I kind of in my mind think, I can obviously see the massive. I would say we went from kind of nothing to where we are now. But actually reading back, I looked back at my notes from all the sessions we did, and actually looking back and thinking, learning it all and where do we want to be, to actually looking at that now and thinking, God, we're even further on from what we kind of wanted to achieve there anyway. So it's
where
really
was it that you wanted to achieve when you kicked it off? I do remember you being one of the very first members. This was before it was even called Accelerator. It was called the Content Marketer.
It was
a 12-month thing, and we were so excited about it. Both of us were. I was excited to run it. You were excited to be in it. And as you say, it has come a long way. The core is still the same. The 12 sessions are still the same, or very similar, and the core principles are the same. What was it that when you signed up for that, what were you hoping to achieve, would you say?
So I guess we just won the Zero Bookkeeper of the Year award when we signed up with you guys, and I wanted to kind of obviously maximize on that. And I just heard of this thing called content marketing, and I really wanted to sort of learn more about that. And what I liked about the idea of the Accelerator was the fact that it was taking us through these steps. And I think you kind of look at some steps and think, oh, that one might not be relevant to me, or that. But actually, and it's not till you get to about 9 or 10 that you go, that's how it all works, and it's like this. And it does. So I think where we wanted to be was just really putting ourselves out there and sharing our knowledge openly to help with our content marketing journey.
Yeah, and what was it about content marketing that appealed to you? I know you and I were both in the early stages of like, oh, content marketing.
Yeah.
And then we discovered it wasn't actually new at all, but it was new to us, and it was particularly new to you as an accountant. Did you have any fears or concerns about sharing your knowledge and being a little more visible by answering clients' questions?
So I think it's always scary about giving away free stuff, giving away free knowledge. So the concept of it is to build up your knowledge base. And you kind of think, well, I should be charging for that. But actually what it does is it reiterates you as a firm, as a business, your knowledge and understanding. And you can give people as much free information as you like, but not everybody wants to do everything themselves. But what we're finding,
appealed to on the content marketing side, what did you feel would happen for your firm by sharing that information?
Solidifying ourselves in the market, our positioning, everything. So everything. If you think we've got now 5 years of content marketing, no amount of Facebook ads could trump that. Right. And I'm not wanting, that's the power of content marketing. We've got the history.
Yeah, I love that concept. I'm in the similar boat. I started PF 9 years ago, and I remember starting an email that I sent out every Friday, and I remember thinking, I'm in this for the long game. I'm going to do this and keep doing it. And now the team actually are involved in that, and it still goes out every Friday for 9 years, and in your case 5. And I think that point of nothing wrong with Facebook ads, nothing wrong with there's a new app and a new opportunity available to people every 5 minutes. The newest one is Clubhouse, which is all audio, and everybody's like, oh, Clubhouse. And that's fine. If there's an opportunity for that, or TikTok or whatever it be, but the core principle of slowly, steady, consistently sharing that information. Remember, we always say, I'm just saying to those listening, remember, we always say, give away information, charge for implementation. So you give away as much free information as you want, because you can charge them when they say, well, how does this apply to me? So my question then, Emma, is how have you seen that bank of content, that knowledge, that experience that's available to your prospects? How has that changed the prospect relationship, the way that builds, how quickly they buy? What kind of changes have you seen?
So I would say by the time someone picks up the phone or emails us, 90% of the time they've already made up their mind that they want to work with us.
Right.
So I think we've built the whole website, but potentially the content, around our ideal client. And I think that's what my notes from 2016 is: who is your ideal client, or are they just more money?
Sometimes
and we're really strict now. Yeah, and we're so we're strict. So I would say, looking at my notes from the thing, is like the attraction is now that is the website, and so people look at that, they look at the content, they potentially have followed us on social media, they've done their due diligence. So by the time we actually have the conversation, it's actually us due diligencing them as to whether they're a good fit for us, and we don't even talk about proposal sides until we've made a decision on whether they're good for us. And I think that's the power of everything we've kind of invested, is it saves a lot of time, and it means that we're always working with the right people.
Yeah, I love that reminder that you're making a choice just as much as they're making a choice. That's a big myth that accountants have believed, that many business owners have believed, but especially accountants, the myth that when somebody comes, that you have to say yes because they want help.
No, we have so many prerequisites, and you get a feel of whether, because we work with our clients so closely, they have to be a good fit.
Yeah.
And no.
Well, and knowing you, Emma, and Fresh Financials, you've actually taken that feeling and turned it into a process, haven't you? Like, you don't just look at an inquiry and go, oh, I feel really nice about them. Like, there's actually a process behind it now.
Yeah. So if it's, I think that comes up to the whole building, building our internal content as well, is so that when new people come on board, they know what our process is of finding, and it's not about finding new clients. It's, the clients are finding us, and it's just about, finding the relationship. But yeah, there's a definite.
Both of you finding, and both of you matching, and both of you agreeing as well. I had an experience recently I was looking for a supplier to help me in a particular area. And one of the conversations I loved the most is somebody who said, well, we vet people as well on our side because we want to see if you're the kind of client we want to work with. So we went to your Instagram and we went to your LinkedIn and we saw this and we loved this and we thought this was cool and we had a question about this. And I thought, oh, that actually makes me feel really good because they're not so desperate to just take anybody. So I don't know if you guys have seen that too.
That's the key. So we have a waiting list anyway. So nobody comes on board from. It's at least 6 weeks. So there is a whole process up before someone actually even works with us. And actually, what we're doing in that point is building the relationship, so that once we actually get into actually working together, it's all really super clear. And it's about them valuing us as much as us valuing them.
It has to be mutual because it's a relationship. The concept of this not being transactional but relational is so true for accountants. You are not, you know, putting out 3 different kinds of shoes, or, you know, especially when we talked before about pricing and how it's not, you know, oh, well, there's this package and you pick what you want best, because we need to talk. We need to have an actual conversation about what it is that you think you want.
Versus what you actually need.
What you need. And I presume that from the prospect's perspective, over that 6-week waiting period, things change. Is that fair?
Mm. Yes, yeah, because we have a process within that 6 weeks period. We insist that everybody pays for a health check of their systems, because we can't guarantee our work if we're taking on, you know, a mess. And yeah, things come out, and then they're like, oh yeah, but actually I would quite like you to do that as well. And you know, the relationship builds, and it's not till you get to the proposal side. And actually, by the time we've sent out a proposal, it's already been kind of agreed anyway. So it's you know.
And have you had people who have gone through the prospecting process, maybe even the 6-week waiting period or even longer, and gone, oh, I don't know if this is for me, and backed out? Does that happen?
Normally only on a pricing side of things.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And if at that stage, you know, we've priced it and they are querying the price, we would just reply and say, you know, this is what you're getting for that, and you know, mm-hmm. you've never worked in this way before, you can't understand how it's going to benefit your business, but that is our price. And if they don't value that, then that's okay. That's okay. That's a no.
That's right. Oh, it's either a no or it's a later. Like one of the team was writing a marketing tip recently on, just because somebody says no doesn't always mean it's no forever. You know, sometimes people need a little more time to process things through and have more conversations, which leads us nicely into the first of the 3 areas we're going to look at, particularly with Emma, the email, follow-up, and blogging. How do you use email to build that relationship with people on your list, whether just a prospect or somebody on a waiting list or whatever? How do you use email particularly to be building that relationship?
So we have templates, we have links to blogs. So the process is very clearly written as when someone comes on, this is stage 1, this is what email they get then. And obviously we personalize it. We've got a basic template, but every client is different.
Right.
So
these are all personal emails and not automated, not part of a system?
No. Templates, but not automated, because we are very much quality of not quantity. So we're not actually looking after that many clients.
Okay.
So the personal touch is very much absolutely fine for us. Mm-hmm. I can very much see if you've got more clients, then you would definitely want to kind of have a system that triggers off. I work with some accountants who I've seen their processes, and that's brilliant. Mm-hmm. I think because ours isn't so much compliance based, it is different. So we use email where we need written things, but we would very much use video where we don't need something written, and because that again, that's how you build. So actually I think we never really did face-to-face with clients anyway, but we've probably halved our email communications by having recorded Zoom sessions. So I don't know if you want to know.
No, it's very interesting, because when we talk about email, there's emails that you can send out to just say, hey, here's some updates, here's what's going on, and that can go to everybody. And you do those as well, right?
So we use Mailchimp. So obviously when Rishi kept announcing new things, we were getting those out literally daily to everybody and turning them into blogs.
Right.
But that's more generic. That's okay, this is what we know. Yeah. Whereas you know, from a one-on-one client perspective, is I might have a client who has 15 spare minutes, and rather than him wanting to read an email like that, we can come on here, I can record it, and then it goes in the client file.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I want to highlight that when you're looking at email, it is very tempting to think, quantity over quality. Like, oh, I'll just send a whole bunch of emails, maybe 3,000 people on my email list, or 500 or 100, whatever it be. And what you're rightly pointing out is there is a place for sending a general email that draws people's attention to a particular thing. I liked your point about at one point you were even sending them daily because there were so many updates and people wanted to receive those. But the personal touch, the machine with the human on top, means there's got to be a human element. And this is where we all fall down a bit, I think, as business owners, trying to reach so many people at once that one email sent to 3,000 people, it might actually be better to send 5 emails to 5 people.
So a perfect example of this is we are at the stage now where we're getting in touch with all of our clients who deferred their VAT that's due in March. So we're getting in touch next week, first week of Feb, so they've got 2 months to know about it. We're giving them their options. We're telling them how much they deferred, how much it could be monthly if they split it out. So that's got to be personalised. But it's an email template that's going to go individually to everyone. It's not going to be a Mailchimp.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's such a good point. There are things you can use Mailchimp to say, here's some general information, but never at the cost of confusing the client or prospect or whatever it be, and causing them to go, oh, that's just generic. I don't know how it applies to me. You want to pique their interest, not, discourage them.
Yeah, because we've probably got a third of our clients who didn't defer any VAT, so they don't actually even want to be bothered with it.
Yes. And when you send emails, this is a really important point. When you send emails that are not relevant, it strikes a little moment of doubt in the mind of the recipient who goes, do I really need to be on this email list at all? And they may remove themselves after 2 or 3 emails that are just not relevant, not because they don't like you, not because they don't want to work with you, not because you're not a good company, but because they feel like you don't know them by email.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it sounds
because we're working with our clients every day, daily, and building this trust and this relationship, it's exactly that. It's, oh, do you actually really know me at all?
Yes. And you never, especially with your brand and the way you work, you never want them to feel like that. So this is a conscious branding decision to make sure that the relationship is held close.
Mm. Yeah.
So you have the template. Do you keep the template just in a place the whole team can access?
Yeah,
and then
we use Google, so canned response. So one of the team wrote it. That then got shared on Slack for everybody to comment, make amends. Now it's gone as a canned response because it's being sent from our central email account, so that everybody can see the replies.
Okay.
And then, that gets updated in our database.
Okay. And I love this idea of the canned response. Is that something within Gmail that you use?
Yeah. So you can just set it up, and then literally you can go in, and when you go new, it basically comes up with it populated, and you can clearly see we've highlighted in bright red where you've got to sort of personalize it. And then, we always add in a little personal, for one particular client that I sent it out this morning to, how's homeschooling going? Are you still alive?
Yeah, that's good. I really like that. And that's a nice, tiny little actionable tip that anybody could use. I was just thinking, Steph, there's things that we could be doing at PF to have that, because we do that kind of concept, but we do want to make sure everybody has some personality to it. And I love this combination of there are things that need to be said and you don't want to forget those, but you always keep the humanity of it. Otherwise, it's just a boring email that they won't pay any attention to.
Mm.
So that's email. We've talked about, building relationships with clients and prospects. Let's talk about follow-up I know follow-up includes some email, but let's talk particularly about how you follow up to inquiries and how you follow up within the waiting list and then to the proposal. There's probably 3 elements there. So talk us through a little bit of the content and things you've created for as soon as somebody inquires and says, hey, I'm interested in working with you.
So as soon as someone inquires, if they haven't given us any information at all, we kind of go back and ask them more about the business. And that's just a really standard, again, that is just a canned response, because it's the same questions kind of for everybody. If they don't answer that, we do not follow up, because if they can't be bothered to answer one email with questions, then they're not going to be able to work with us.
Interesting. Did you try for a while following up to those and then decide not to?
We used to follow up and sort of chase people and then take the clients on, and then we would have to eventually let the clients go.
This is very interesting. What did it show you about them that they didn't choose to reply?
If they can't invest the time at literally inquiry stage, then they're not invested in working the type of clients we would like to work with. Because we're not interested in working with clients monthly, quarterly, annually. It is on a daily basis, and if you can't reply to us, then And I just think it's really, if you're at that new relationship, whether it's personal or professional, if you can't reply straight away, you're not invested.
That's a really interesting point. And remember, for those of you listening, remember, you don't have to do things exactly like Emma does them, exactly like we do them. The point is that Emma, you're making your decision based on the kind of clients you want and have and the way they work. And it is a really interesting point that when somebody inquires, the enthusiasm's really high at that point. Most people would like a very quick response and want to engage. So what it sounds like you're seeing is that they inquire and then you send them something to do, and they're almost expecting you to do all the work and go, oh, whatever, if they really want me as a client.
Yeah.
Push.
So at inquiry stage, we have two different actions. There's the asking for more information, and then, so we had one this week, currently using a desktop solution, wanted a Xero demo, and to understand how Xero could work within their business and the benefits and the pros and the cons and all the rest of it. So in this instance, we refer them to our Ask Me Anything sessions, which are chargeable, because I don't work for Xero. I'm not to demo the software, and to really understand a business and tell them what the benefits are, you have to invest the time.
Sure.
So again, if they don't respond to that, we don't follow up.
Got it.
So, because most people are just looking for some free advice or.
Yeah, and that's such a good point. And I think one of the things that you all have done really well, and we'll talk about this in relation to blogging and the other content, is you do have free content available that they can read and absorb. So does Xero. Like you said, if you want a Xero demo, there are literally thousands of videos that you can watch from Xero themselves. So what you've identified here, it sounds like, is they want more than just a Xero demo. They want to know how it would apply to their situation. And now we're in the give away information, charge for implementation. So what kind of free content have you created that they could absorb before the Ask Me Anything session?
Well, I mean, literally, we probably aren't. So I think when we talk about the content marketing, I've taken a lot of strategy from Marcus Sheridan. They ask, you answer. And if I can think of a question, there will be a blog about it on our website somewhere. And there's a search function, even how do I set up Xero? We've talked someone through how to actually do it. What are the things I need to consider when moving to online software? It's all there.
Yes.
But if we get to a point where someone actually wants us to start talking about their business, if I'm going to give advice, I kind of have to invest the time to understand their business. And in order to do that, if you want me invested in helping you, then that's chargeable, because it's consultancy.
Yeah, and it sounds like what you're doing there is another pre-qualification. You have stages of pre-qualification. So you have the initial stage. Are you going to get in touch? Are you going to fill in the form? Are you going to give us the information? Are you going to show up? Are you going to pay for the either Ask Me Anything or the Zero Health Check? So at every stage, they have the opportunity to go, oh, I just wanted free advice. And that's okay. You know, everybody wants free advice to a certain point, but free advice is out there. And part of what you guys have done really well at Fresh Financials is show that all of that expertise is there. This is not the first time you've answered that question. So you're there for the people who are ready.
Yeah, and when we send, you know, when we're talking to a client about onboarding and we're saying, you know, you start with a Zero Health Check, we then send a link to 3 blogs about why a health check's important, why we do a health check, and what the benefits are. So they get this whole thing, and then it's their choice. And yeah, we, rightly or wrongly, when people don't come back, we say there's no hard sell. If you would like to come back to us, then please do. But if this isn't right for you, then that's absolutely fine too.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting approach. We often encourage people to, you know, follow up in a way that fits with your brand. So if your clients are people make decisions super fast and need pushing, and you want to push them, and pushing them as part of your brand, good, do that. And what you guys have noted is, well, that's just not our style. So why would we push somebody? As you said, it's just going to cause problems later. And a lot of this, it sounds like, has been trial and error.
Yes, absolutely, because we sort of started with the concept, but obviously we've had plenty of time to as you say, try it and see what works for us, but also see what works for us as a team. Because I might be having the initial conversation, but I'm not the one who's going to be doing the day-to-day work. And I've got to think, because we're in 2 teams, I've got to think, where would this client sit? You know,
and how do you involve the team in these decisions about the content and the follow-up and the waiting list and all of that? How does that work?
So the team are involved as much as possible. So everybody knows what the stages are. The onboarding is always done by whichever team they've gone to, a team, dream team. Because we've got all of our processes and everything all lined out, and actually one of my team has actually just finished a blog that's gone live this morning about the onboarding process. So actually now that's another thing that we can kind of send out and say what to expect now, because yes, they might be waiting a month for us to actually start working, but this is what's going to happen. Which is really good.
I love what you and a couple other firms I've talked to have done, have over the years begun to involve the team in the content, particularly in blogging. So let's move to talking about blogging. How well did that, I mean, you started blogging yourself first, is that right?
Yeah, yes.
And how did the process go of you going, hey, I could get the team involved in? How did that go? How did that process go?
Not at all. Because it was called a blog, and they all said, I work with numbers, not words. Okay? It was an absolute, I think Lucy did a couple of blogs. You know, literally we were going nowhere. So we don't call them blogs.
Oh.
We're not allowed to call them blogs because that scares everybody, and nobody's going to like a blog.
I like this.
So
what do you call them?
So it's either a question, so they ask you answer. So we have a database where if people get asked a question, like Zoe, who started with us in March, noticed that she kept getting asked, why do I have to keep renewing my bank feed? So she wrote a blog about it, so that every time we now ask our clients to refresh the bank feed, we just link to the blog. You know, so it's either a question or it's a knowledge nugget.
Ooh.
So it's a piece of information. It's something that you know that you think other people might be interested in.
I love it.
Or it's a story.
A knowledge nugget or a story. And the point here, which is so critical, is that is locked in the head of you and your team, unless you put it in a public way that other people could read it.
Yeah. But just taking away the word blog as just, so we've had 2 sessions with Ash as a team now, with her kind of encouraging and me kind of explaining what I was after, and this is where we just sort of stripped away all the the blog words.
Yes.
And some of mine have worked together. So 2 of them may be working on a blog together, or and then obviously we've got the help of you guys to we can send it over, and then they can get some comments, so they're learning from the information. But by getting them involved, so Alex is one of the onboarding, she realised that she actually had a bit missing in her brain in what the process actually was. So she had to go out, research that, and learn it. And I say to them, writing an article, writing anything, it's a bit like teaching. It reiterates your understanding. So actually, it's brought out areas that they might need extra training, or an area that they might be particularly interested in. So I found that Alex was quite factual, and I had an AML inspection. So I was like, right, she's helping me with that, and she's now going to write an article about her experience.
Or some notes, some as you say, some nuggets, just basic bullet points. I really love this because we have seen, I wanted to bring that up as well about involving the team, because so many accountants and accountancy firms struggle to get their team involved, partly from that's not my job. Like you said, I'm a numbers person, words person. So there's an element of training and understanding of what it is that's missing. But there's also some fear. If you put a blog out there for the whole world, which we always try to remind everybody that first, the whole world is not reading it. You are not going to go viral with your blog on, why you have to refresh bank feeds. It's just not going to happen. But it does feel scary to put some of yourself out there officially on behalf of the company. And what you've done as a team is said, well, forget about the blog. Just leave that with us and with PF. We have PF to help pull all that together, make it look good, and put headings in and post it for us. Just leave that with us. But what we can't do without you, we literally cannot do, is get those pieces that only you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So some of them might literally bullet point in a G sheet, everything, and then you guys Camilla makes it look pretty.
Exactly. And where do you store all of these questions that your clients and prospects ask so that the whole team have access to them?
So we've got a G sheet that we've got a Slack channel blog, and it's sort of pinned to the top. So what I've actually asked them to start doing, because what we were finding is the 2 managers, Lucy and Elizabeth, are actually getting asked the more difficult questions, clearly, and the others weren't necessarily seeing the question or the reply. So I've asked, in an instance like that, to BCC the rest of their team so that they can see and they can go, oh, okay, and then that question would then go on the list, or actually, you've answered that question brilliantly there, but we did actually have a blog.
Right. Yes. And this is the key. The more content you create, and we find this at PF too, a team member will go, I'm thinking of writing a blog on this. And one of the first things we do now is check how many blogs we've already written, what we've said, what the approach is. Do we have videos? Do we have webinars? Do we have interviews with clients? And there was one that a team member wrote recently, and she said, listen, I just want to give you the heads up. We have like 3 or 4 blogs. Here they are. Mine is different because it addresses this, which we haven't addressed before. And I found that really encouraging, because you want your team to see the whole picture and not just be randomly regurgitating things, that you've already written on or you already have content on.
Yes. Yeah, so it's kind of, they do have to go back and look at our database and kind of see, what we've got. But generally, anything I wrote about in 2016 definitely needs to be redone. So in my opinion, that's fine.
Yeah, which is a good point too. Just because you've written a blog on it 5 years ago or 3 years ago doesn't mean that lasts forever. So what have you found? Like, clearly, I can tell from what you're sharing that it's not as if you're saying that's useless, but how would you help those that are going, oh my word, I just wrote that, a couple of years ago, now I have to rewrite it. So how have you kind of dealt with that?
Actually, it's someone else from the team picking that subject up. because the one thing that I'm very, very clear about is I want them to write about something that interests them or they feel they really know about. I'm not going to give them a topic. There's plenty of topics out there, but if they can pick something, then they're actually going to be more passionate about doing it. So if someone's already written something, in this instance last time, it was one of the newer members of the team picked up a subject, and I said, Lucy wrote about that a couple of years ago. Look at the blog, see what points she's addressed, and actually how things have changed and how you can change it. And she was like, yeah.
Good. It's a good reminder that your business and content is continually changing. Even if you took the exact same topic you wrote on, it's going to keep changing. I know you at one point you involved some of the team in the Accelerator course, and as you said, you've had one-on-one sessions with the PF team, with your team as well. How did kind of bringing them into that big picture of marketing, did it help, and how did it help, or how did that work for you?
So I think the initial part is because those that don't know, I started Fresh Financials on my own, and I've taken on one member of staff kind of each year. So we're now a team of 7. So we've grown slowly, organically, but it was me. And even when we had 4 people, it was still me. So very much trying to strip me away a bit from it and actually get the rest of the team's voice in there. Not only does it help me to understand what interests them and what they know about. I love the fact that I go on the blog page and it's not just me publishing things, but more importantly, it makes them feel very much part of the business, and that their voice is heard, and I want to hear it, and everybody else wants to hear it, and that actually it's you're not just there to actually do the client work. I want you to actually help in the actual business as well.
Yeah, I love that their voice is heard. That's such an important one to us at PF. And so it makes sense that the clients that we love working with would have that similar, it isn't just about me. Because as you rightly said, the team are the ones talking to the clients day to day, So that's good. So we've looked at email follow-up and blogging. Just stepping back a little to, you started 5 years ago with the Accelerator in the form that it was then. You involved some of the team. What would you say to somebody who's thinking, okay, I've been thinking of joining Accelerator, been looking at it, been considering starting my journey. Look at Emma, she's done all these things. Do I do this? What do I do? How do I focus on it? How would you kind of address any fears or concerns that they would have that this would just be yet another marketing course that they go through or don't attend or don't get anything from? How might you encourage them as they're considering it in light of what you know now?
Yeah, so I think I probably had all those concerns as well to start with. I think being fair to yourself and your business, you have to set aside time to do this. And I think the accountability, because, in our industry, we have tasks and we have to complete tasks, and you give us homework, we have to complete the task, so it's the accountability. I think it's the community, other people who are going through the same journey at the same time. I'm still very close to some of the people I was on the Accelerator with way back when, and realizing that people outsource things that they're not brilliant at, and you've got to outsource the fact that you guys have got to teach us this. Otherwise, we can't all be masters of everything, and we do have to learn along the way. And I think you might start off and think, oh, why am I doing this? But it leads and it swirls, and as I explained earlier, and then suddenly you just have that click moment. And it's like, yes, you might not want to necessarily bang straight into all of it, but eventually it all comes together, and it does work.
What was your click moment? Your do you remember?
It was around the time we'd been talking about branding, websites, and I think it was once we started talking about the blogging, and then I just kind of went, yeah, it was just literally kind of just went, okay, and I could see where everything slotted into place that we'd already learned, and I could see where we were going.
Yes. And where was it that you, like, did it feel foggy before? Because you said you could see where you're...
Yeah, foggy. I think it was, I mean, maybe it was just because it was so new to me. And I think I came into this knowing that I wanted to go down the content marketing route rather than the direct, what I would call direct marketing. I never wanted to go out and sell. And I think people might be scared that this is teaching you kind of, and it's not, it's teaching you exactly the really nice organic way of getting your brand out there, and it's not in your face.
Ooh, I love that. I love that perspective on it, because we're always, this is why we have this conversation with people like you, because no matter what we say, we know it can come across in a way that taps into people's fears, and we want to address those. So I love that point about, you might be fearful that this is pushing you to sell in a pushy selling way that you don't want. But as you said, the natural, organic, this is just who we are. And if you like who we are, we're here. And if you don't, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Just very quickly, talk about ROI. You know, people are always thinking about marketing and the return on their investment, not just for something like a marketing course, but for all the effort that you put into marketing. How do you look at marketing ROI?
So ROI makes people, okay, so ROI to me is risk of inactivity. So I personally, when I'm due diligencing a business, I always look at their blog post, and you know, I will notice, oh, they haven't written a blog since September, or they haven't written a blog for 2 years. Whether that's just because of the journey I've been on, I don't know. Risk of investment to me is just, if I look at where we were and where we are and what I wanted to achieve, and the fact that I don't waste a lot of time. Right. You know, we've saved so much time because everything out there is marketed in an unpushy way to our ideal clients, and they do genuinely find us.
Yeah. I love that reminder that you are taking a risk. You know, by entering into the content marketing long game, you are taking the risk of the time you're investing. But what you've just shared with us is 5 years on, you are for sure saving time. And it didn't take 5 years to save time, did it?
No. It's purely just because we were doing this that I thought I'd kind of look back at my notes and think, you know, what did I want to achieve? Yeah, that's doing that now. It's
good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. That's so encouraging. So those who are joining Accelerator this time around, whatever you're writing down, you can be Emma in 5 years and be like, you know, I'm sure not exactly the way that maybe you imagined it, but different and possibly even better.
Yeah. And I never thought I'd get to a point where I had the rest of the team getting involved in it as well.
Oh, that's good. That's good. And I think that's a good reflection of the investment you've put in to marketing, but to your own team. You know, involving the team in marketing is never going to work if you just magically expect it to happen. You've worked hard with them to help train them and invite them in. And that's been a long process too, almost as long as drawing in the right kind of prospects.
Yeah, it is. I mean, in my mind, we might have all started off in our careers as numbers people, you know, accountants, bookkeepers, we sit, we crunch numbers, we do that. But actually, with all the changes that have happened, we've had to become technology experts, we've had to become security experts, we've had to become marketing experts. You know, there are so many different aspects to what we offer now. You can't just be somebody who sits behind a computer and you know, does the bank rec. We've got to be more, otherwise we're not going to find our ideal clients.
Yeah. Absolutely. And this is of all those things, you know, you mentioned you have to become technology experts, regulations experts, software experts, marketing experts, and you know that you're not becoming the full and final expert on that, and you draw from other experts, but you are having to learn about that more than you ever thought. And that's on our side at PF, that's what we call the accountant marketer. is the accountant who has had to become a marketer and didn't think that they had, but you have shown us that you and your team have become accountant marketers, and you're still learning.
Still,
which is
yeah.
part of the pro still always. So just to close up, the last two things I want to ask is, if you were speaking to other accountants at whatever stage they are in their marketing journey, I like to ask for a sort of a caution that you would give them about marketing, like be careful of this, and then also an encouragement, something that, you know, they might not imagine would be this way, and say, hey, I've been there, so here's my encouragement. So first of all, what would your caution be that you would kind of warn them about in terms of marketing?
My caution would be not to not do it because you're scared of putting yourself out there. My encouragement would be, our most read blogs are personal human blogs and nothing to do with accounting and bookkeeping. They are what we would call our stories. Like, for instance, I wrote one right at the beginning of the first lockdown of how I was feeling as a business owner, looking after business owners. And that's had more hits than, you know, more reads than most of our sort of technical ones. But so caution, don't not do it. Encouragement, be yourself.
Yes. And what if, I love this so much. I remember that blog too. I remember you sharing it. I remember being so proud, you know, that you had written it and shared it publicly, because you moved through this, you know, years of writing and becoming a better writer, and clearly got to a point of, I'm just going to put out some fears and some concerns and some troubles and things that are weighing on me, and I'm not going to pretend to be this perfect person who has it all together. So what if the reason an accountant is holding back is because they're afraid of sharing who they actually are? Like, how would you encourage them if you're saying don't not do it, and they're going, yeah, but the very thing that I'm afraid of is, what if I put myself out there in all my humanity, and then, you know, and they've got all these fears about how that might come to be.
I can only liken it to my daughter as a performer. So she writes music, plays music, and sings. And the way, you know, she wouldn't be able, she's got to push her content out there to get people to know that she even exists, and to not listen to any negativity. Yes, on some of the very well-known accounting websites, there are what we would call the trolls, and don't listen to the trolls because they don't matter. I mean, I actually have comments on my website turned off, so people can't comment. All sorts. I think the fear is bigger than the reality. If you put something out there on your website, on Twitter, in a newsletter, people are going to write back. I think we had one client who wrote back to me during the whole COVID thing and said, "I think you're overdoing the comms." So I just said, "I'll take you off then." But people, it's not as negative as your thoughts.
Right. I love that. The fear is bigger than the reality. And I can personally attest to this. I'm sure Steph and the rest of the team can too, that we imagine that we're like this viral celebrity, who we see the hater comments for those people. And I always say, listen, to encourage you, you're not a celebrity. This is an encouragement. You're not and if you ever get to be a celebrity, even in your own industry or your own place, by then you will have gained all the skills that celebrities get of going, that's fine, I'm just staying in my lane, you go over there. And that would be my kind of rejoinder to that one, is following along what you've said. Just stay in your lane, and the people who love you will keep loving you and loving what you share. And the people who don't, well, who wants to work with them? So that is an encouragement. And you did remind us that the blogs that were the most read were the human ones.
Yeah, people want to get to know us, people are interested in the story and, who we are behind the computer.
Yes, because like we said, drawing it back to the beginning, they can find blogs about refreshing bank feeds, about how Xero works, about software. You can find those. There are thousands of them. but there is no one in the world who is Emma, who is her team, who is Fresh Financials. And that's what you have that's different from everyone else. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anything else you want to share with the accountants who are just considering marketing besides what you've shared?
I think there's some books that definitely have helped me along the way. As I see, that They Ask You Answer, then How to Not Give a. So I think, you know, there's, if you're not sure whether now is the right time, you could definitely start by investing your time. And but blocked. So this is what we do. Block time out. Treat it like an appointment. Treat it like, you know, it's an appointment you have to go to. I have to spend an hour, whether it's doing the accelerator, whether it's reading a book, whether it's writing a blog.
Yeah, I love that reminder. Like, value yourself and your learning enough to honor that appointment. If you block out an hour for Accelerator, or we've actually had a lot of Accelerator members say, block out an hour after Accelerator.
That's what I used to do.
So on fire, so excited, so many ideas, and then you got to rush to a client meeting and it all trickles away. So honor yourself and your commitment to marketing by setting aside that hour. And we always say about creativity, you can't make yourself be creative by being like, okay, I'm going to be creative now, but you can open up the space for that creativity to flow. And that hour of Accelerator, after Accelerator, the hour you block out the next Friday, whatever it be, that opens up the space for that. Has that been your experience?
It has, but it's not even just blocking up the time for marketing as such. It's you're building the strength of your brand. You're building the strength of your business. You're building, you know, how others perceive your business. You're building equity in your business. It's so much more than just marketing. I think that kind of undermines it.
I love that, because you're investing in your own learning. And that is far more valuable than just churning out an email to get some leads, as you said, the equity in your business and your brand and what you really care about yourself as a business owner. Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me. Okay.
It's always a pleasure to see you, even if we have to do it this way.
It won't be long.
We fondly remembered the times in the sunshine in the garden, which we've had. We will have again. We will. Yes.
Thank you so much,
Thank you, Emma. Thanks, Steph. Anything
Thank
else from you?
No, I was going to say, I think the thing I love the most is hearing about your team being a part of it. Obviously, as a team member of PF, it's just really great to hear that you give your team the opportunity to learn, because that's often what I say to Karen is one of my favorite things is that we get an opportunity to keep doing our own learning. So when, like you were saying about the blogs, you choose your own topic. It's something that you are interested in knowing more about. And it's not just being told, go write about this or go write about that. So I love hearing about your team being involved and how they get to continue growing and learning while at their job. So that's really cool. I love that.
Thank you.
And yeah, it was a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you so much,
Emma. And yeah, thank you so much for joining, listening, watching, whatever it is you've done.